Um, I gotta pick my words. I gotta pick my words carefully because I really feel like crying right now. And I also really feel like flipping over this fucking table. You dirty money changers. You know what's really terrible? Is the same people that help create this problem give you guys the fucking money that makes it so that we can't get you out of here. You dirty, corrupt politicians. I sat here last year, you sons of bitches, and I told you exactly what was gonna happen. Charlie, can you hear me, you son of a bitch? You just came here and told us how proud you were that you spent $500 million. $500 million. And do you know what? It's worse than it was last year when I came here and wagged my finger at you dirty, evil bastards. Do you understand that? These are people in the streets that are dying. And not only are you guys not empathetic or sympathetic, you're actually apathetic. You're working against it. I told you last year we were going to put bodies in front of the problem. We did. You know what? I turned my backyard into a camp for vulnerable women that were taken off the Springwater corridor who've been failed by every other agency. I'm putting people back into housing by giving them a chance and a shower and Wi-Fi. And you know what you guys did? You sent the Bureau of Developmental Services out to my house and gave me citations for having tents in the backyard. You haven't made one more camp like Hazelnut Grove or Right to Dream 2. I haven't seen a single tiny house put up. We still have renters that are people looking for houses that have to pay $50 for a stupid application fee. How hard would that have been to make one citywide application process? Zero creative leadership at all. Zero, none. Okay? None. And the real terrible thing is that we can't get scumballs like you out because you get so much money that even a good person like Nick Caleb couldn't defeat you. So I beg you, Portland, at least get that scumball the hell out of here and vote for the homegirl Chloe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bonner. Next three.
Oh, and try to get off your damn phone, Novik.
Next three.
The next three are Robert Schultz, Leo Rhodes, and Mike O'Callahan. And they'll be followed by Nancy Newell, Diane Kefauver, and Richard Robinson. Robert Schultz, Leo Rhodes, and Mike O'Callahan.
Title: Voluntary Commerce. Exactly where does the buck stop? Opening interlude. Spawnberg anger. Meanwhile, there are people whose only crime is trying not to die. That's 4 years ago. Today, the meaning of voluntary commerce has just appeared. A group of community gathered successfully to refuse coercion, police weaponized force, being carried out by individuals making property purchases. Individuals who have purchased from banks, who do not hold the equitable ability to make such a sale. Corporate person, no human identity, no voluntary will. The individual making the purchase is a human person with a voluntary will. Now, eventually, the police couldn't try any more enforcements. The community successfully refused their violence. The purchaser then said, "I don't want the public infamy of instigating any harm now that I'm unmasked as a decision maker." That person had to cave in to voluntary commerce and wanted to let the property fall into a new owner at the lowest sale price to ensure that it would be purchased, not allowing a bidding war that drives up the price. It was purchased by the rightful owner after GoFundMe success in just a few hours. Boom! Purchases where work was created by the purchasing individuals, not a ruler class coercion singularity. Where does the buck stop with coercion commerce? Right there, where a purchaser no longer wants to carry out the violence that follows such purchases, and so they sell it in surrender to the voluntary decisions of the intelligent meta-organism who crowdfunded the outcome while resisting fascist coercion. So then, we are exhausted of being told that we're not allowed. This is why we are education radicals. The educational action we are radically performing is celebration, crafting, and contact. Isn't this what we are trying to show the kids? That they are allowed? That they are precious? I've been pondering the meaning of that burnout point when you're actually free to do what you want. I've been a hermit since 2016, and have had to ponder how to transcend my own bullshit since there's no one else to blame. Now, free hot soup is the ideology that if someone is being harmed by poor, false authority, stupid behavior, dressed up as official or royal, you don't ask or enact more of that system, because that takes time. You just do the helping that saves people from being destroyed by the harm. You don't go ask for permission or recognition from the harmful bureau. You just send the first response. You don't do nothing. If, then, the harmful force users come around saying, you don't have permission, you need to purchase permission to feed people. It's no longer free if you need the ruler permission. That's just tyranny hot soup. That is not free hot soup if you need the ruler permission. The ruler permission is the thing that's already harming them. Being told they aren't allowed. So we say to that, no, fuck no. We are allowed. We feed the people you are suppressing. Civil action which says, get the fuck out so we can breathe and not be choked out by ignorant violence. Criminal neglect as ruling. The civil action itself is radical educating against anti-education Nazi rule. The greatest, biggest, great big dumbs to ever exist. Interlude. Ron Swanson. Don't worry, I have a permit. He holds up a note written in pen. It says, I can do what I want, and is signed Ron Swanson. The message of Jesus is exactly this. Everyone is allowed. Stop trying to criminalize anyone. To practice this ideology means to refuse the authority of landlords and police. Feed the neighbors. Block police from ever removing people from safe shelters. To practice this ideology is to live in love, liberated from infringement, centrally valuing voluntary action with the flow of money, the real social order of nature. Bernie Sanders has shown us a special type of anger, and an excellent use of the rage phrase, working families. The best moment he has ever had was saying that the universe is collapsing when we temporarily paid families for their vital work owned by their family, not any brand or bureau.
That some of my Republican colleagues are very distressed. They're very upset that somebody who's making 10, 12 bucks an hour might end up with a paycheck for 4 months more than they received last week. Oh my God, the universe is collapsing. Imagine that. Somebody who's making 12 bucks an hour, now like the rest of us, faces an unprecedented economic crisis with the 600 bucks on top of their regular unemployment check, might be making a few bucks more for 4 months. Oh my word, will the universe survive? How absurd and wrong is that? That some of my Republican colleagues are very distressed. They're very upset that somebody who's making 10, 12 bucks an hour might end up with a paycheck for 4 months more than they received last week. Oh my God, the universe is collapsing. Imagine that. Somebody who's making 12 bucks an hour, now like the rest of us, faces an unprecedented economic crisis with the 600 bucks on top of their regular unemployment check, might be making a few bucks more for 4 months. Oh my word, will the universe survive? How absurd and wrong is that? That some of my Republican colleagues are very distressed. They're very upset.
This is the harm reduction platform. We are refusing your authority because we are analogous to the ambulance, first responders. We are trying to save the people that your false and terrible use of authority harms. This was the message of Jesus. Everybody is allowed. Segment 2. Closing thought first. Bernie has gone on TV every day telling the broken government branches that working families need to be paid for this work, and all bets are off for any other finance convention during this public health emergency. Starvation and houselessness are now the top priorities, because we don't want the children of this society starving and houseless. We want them to have education. Only families can do this work, so now it's time to fund them. Section 2. Title: Precursory scripts about game making and currency/value of expressing innovation, and instructions. Introductory note from December 2019. Information is currency. Money is an information exchange, describing the agreed upon value of what is produced or performed in the social organism. Innovation, by definition, as stated by Alan Watts, is the inner meaning of tech, saving humans, labor, difficulty, giving them what is health and wellness perpetuating, easier and cheaper. Innovation is that which gives, at much lower or even no cost, an improvement to the life and well-being of the social organism, the cells and organs within it, and the enjoyment of its emergent wealth thereof. The basic thrive, and then the enjoyment of what is produced, what is brought forth by the social organism, is what innovation is. It is what technology is for. It is why we invented a machine, to do something easier so people don't have to sit there spending their days doing that thing. The capitalism winner is the one who innovates in this way. So, their idea spreads and is used because it's better. It gets adopted because it wins the contest. It gets copied. It gets imitated. It spreads widely. The old option's no longer used. We don't carry handwritten letters with horses anymore. We communicate electronically. But for some reason, we still continue to act like rulers and monarchs can represent us. They cannot. They cannot represent us any more than the horse-carried handwritten letter can represent our long-distance communication. It just simply isn't the way that we do things. Bringing Alan Watts' ideas in the currency sense is doing the innovation to bring life improvement, well-being, to the social organism we are. Because his ideas describe the win where the social organism circulates production in an optimal, non-classist, non-tyrannical emergence way. We value this. We value the work of the musician playing the song written by the classical master. Alan Watts' message should be played, and I will do so until the day I die. I will share this information until we become a social organism practicing the intelligence of a meta-organism that is not getting in its own way with idiotic ruler behavior and monarchical structure. August 11th, 19. Additional introductory message. I'm designing something that I feel to be immensely important, a message that needs to reach people. Because energy travels, I literally build these ideas by sending them to additional minds. That's how as a team buff spell works. That is how a team buff spell even works. It comes from you and benefits all. Now today, as I wrote this, November 24th, 20, Insight Plateau. Collaboration itself is an act of liberty. We release an idea out into the noosphere, and we can then experience the gratitude when the idea levels up because others are contributing after gaining the benefit of my initial cast. It took me 2 years of creative scaffolding, but I did it. I reprogrammed my life. I invented the well-being that I wanted. I came here to share this message and give the instructions for free. I want you to have the benefit of creative consciousness so we can all witness freedom. My aim as a creative is to show us that we hold the power to reprogram for consciousness, which is creative and brings forth the goodness and overall wealth or enjoyment that exists within ourselves and the living planet that we inhabit, that we come forth from. We are the fruit coming from the rock upon which we reside. Creative consciousness, then, is the final terminology, the title, essentially, of what emerged from my studying of the adventure philosophy and cognition model. This is what I was looking for, because I watched myself corrode into the worst possible self while enduring an abusive relationship. Now, what exactly is this adventure philosophy and cognition model? It's 3 items. First, the awareness toggle, where you identify and bypass illusions so you can truly see you. Next, creating your instructions. This is creative action that heals accumulated particles of trauma. These are harm chains that trap your inner child. You rescue that inner child from harm chains using instructions. You must create your instructions in order to do this. And then the third thing is the arrival point there. Social peace waging. It's a guide to helping each other be excellent and make the amazing things of our inmost heart. When you've confronted your inmost joy and rescued the child selves buried under harm, you can then use that to lift others and see what they can make. So it's awareness, contemplation, or collaboration, which is all celebration. And then finally, crafting/community. You don't grow your craft. Your craft grows you, your image of you, your actualization of what is there in the core of your field of forces. So I've been pondering then, how do we exactly make crafts? How do we do that? Which led me straight to the question about questions. The final result was instructions. Instructions about the instructions. This is the instructions that it has become. The question was, how do you use free will or make any decision which manifests your voluntary energy? Alan Watts says spontaneity. It simply cannot be bossed or forced. You can't get to it by seeking it. You can only get to it accidentally by surprising yourself. After unpacking this in the arrival point, it feels like this. 1. There's an interaction that is necessary to creativity, which happens across all the mediums you might use to share with the audience. Self-collaboration. You're becoming closer and closer in touch with what it is that you can craft. You're the audience. You yourself are the audience. You have platforms for your voice with the objective of bringing forth joy. Number 2. Asking the questions is questing. You're scaffolding along, configuring all the particles in the field of forces. Following a sequence of instructions, which implement questions effectively, is the skill of asking. It's following the sequence of instructions that you have, that somebody has made, you or anybody. Number 3. To resist infringement, abuse, you have faced your inmost passion, the joy inside, in order to let it be seen. Let yourself see it, and let us see it. Let no one push you away hidden. Battle shout it. Bring forth what's within. That is the honest excellence of human mind. Zen points directly to this, and words don't really do the job. They just reference the sensations we contain. They try to approximate the value of the sensation during the transaction, but they don't actually contain the sensation. They just point to it. So then, how to craft your message? To me, that means to create the words. Now, if you have an automatic word creating kind of talent of translating, formerly known as charisma in our social order, there's some kind of superpower channel. That is your crafting action or pattern, because literally it happens automatically in any activity you take on as your art. Your talent is the thing, ultimately, that will become seen of itself when you find your craft, when you actually do the work that actualizes your joy to bring your craft into view. What you do with crafting is that it's crafting your voice into a thing that puts you in contact with you and the people who are like you, who are resonated by your message. That is the exact objective that gives you a noble aim that feels like a success in your epigenetic objective. Instructional content or artisan action. These are the things that actually fulfill the feeling of a noble aim and of being your true self, your honest, creative self. We are desperately trying to contact us. Part B of Section 2. Game design pondering. Gaze, peace, craft. A paradox is a truth standing on its head to attract attention, says Watts. What I am crafting is a psychedelic. The Zen paradox is a game. The creation process for gameplay is similar to writing narration. It's merely the conversion from verbal to physical XP that we do in the craft of video game design. This opening sentence embodies what I feel when I realize that the Zen paradox describes the game. Watts was actually designing gameplay particles and leaving it as his message to a society that refused to engage important games in its stubborn undervaluation of sincere play. I continue that work, adventure/mythos craft. I spent time pondering how narration was created. Instructions were scribbled on a notepad during solitude. This is my craft, mythos, the entirety of actions, contexts, locations to convey the metaphysics of love. Every game we have ever played exists in instructions. They are instructions that convey the viewpoint and the context/location from which to exert actions, which rely on or go with the context and location. The front half is a player, and the other half is something to do or find. Do you realize that this is mystical? To confront the passions in our hearts and to show it to each other. I'm actually making many things, so one of them is a game. This making is the sole focus of my educator energy. This action is perpetual and simultaneous with the work of bringing the education forth for the kids that are important to me. It's one and the same, an education about creating what is within. Creative peace is a focus on your joy, the good things your curiosity brings you to. Peaceful craft is the arrival point when you follow that curiosity and find the joy and then see how do you express it. Awareness, basically just setting down fear, is the starting out point. Then it takes you to creative peace, you do that and do that and do that, and you discover your craft. The starting out point is what the psychedelic medicines point you toward. They let you reprogram your program if you walk creatively. Mind craft. Awareness is the best tempering of flaws and anxiety that we can actually hope for. It works. You can always re-enter awareness when it drops, like dreaming and waking. This is the full manifestation of the entirety of my feelings unleashed, my deepest love. My mystic message is my means of conveying my infinite feelings. I must express these feelings, and the creativity itself literally is my deepest heart flowing forth to be made actualized, to be seen by those who actually care to look. Realize how mystical this is, to confront the furious burning passion of our deepest heart and to show that to each other. That is the human contact psychedelic experience, getting with oneself, getting with each other.
have traveled far, only to find that the fallen star was a man. Who is he? Why has he come? He recalls nothing, but Cain may have the answers.
And the monk. Looks like Matthew Silver.